you're young, you're a maverick in the food world. Your restaurants have done really well. I read somewhere that you were the first Mexican chef to have a Michelin star, which is
That's
so
correct.
impressive.
Thank you.
So I think a lot of people in the current, mindset that we're all are looking for inspiration, and especially within the Latinx community, and a feeling of like, how do we do this? How are we going to get through this time? So I'd love to talk to you a little bit about your business experience and your background. So tell me, how did you end up in food? How did that work out?
Oh Lord, that's a really beautiful story, and I really believe, I grew up always getting involved in the business. I mean, different aspects, when I was later, I used to help my grandpa to cultivate, work in the fields. I used to cultivate corn, watermelons, tomatoes, tomatillos, and stuff like that. So, and then my father taught me how to go sacrifice animals, on the fields for meat. And then he taught me how to prepare an animal, so we can utilize 100% of the meats or everything of the animal. My mom taught me how to go to the fields and get wild ingredients and cook with ingredients, just to learn those stuff. And this is what I learned when I was little. So since then, I always get involved somehow with the industry.
Right. What part of Mexico?
I was born and raised in a small town called Huitzuco. Huitzuco in Guerrero is in the south of the country. That's why the name of Huitzuco, this restaurant, is honored to my hometown. Huitzuco means place of thorns. It's it's an amazing small town.
That's wonderful. I love Mexico. I've been there a couple of times. Yeah.
Okay.
So so you grew up in a small town in Mexico, a pretty rural environment. How do you end up in Chicago? What took you there? Did you look at a map and just say, over here, this is where I'm going?
Well, basically, one of my cousins came to my town in Guerrero. And he really wanted me to come over. I mean, he's like, you should move to Chicago. And he was living here. He went for vacation. And I thought about it. I was 19 and like, this is, I guess, this is the time that I need to start looking what I have to do, in my life. And then I was like, growing up in my hometown, I don't think I'm going to be capable to do something interesting. I was really kind of adventure. I used to do a lot of sports. It was really good. I did really good in the sports, but it was not enough to become a professional soccer player. That's what I used to do. Okay. And then my next choice, it was just get my luggage and go to United States. And then Chicago, especially because it was the only place that I know someone. That was my cousin. And I just had to end up in Chicago.
That's great. And it's a great city. So you got there and you started working in a restaurant, but did you have aspirations to become a chef, or were you just, you were just a young guy trying to figure out what you wanted to do with your life?
When I came to Chicago, normally when you hear in Mexico, the American dream. And I was really interested to see what is the American dream here in Chicago. And then I used to get together with, a lot of Latinos. And I used to ask the question, are you living your American dream? And like, of course I do, like I've been working in this restaurant for 25 years. I'm still doing dishwasher, and the favor over here, favor over there. And then like, I used to ask myself, like, how can it be an American dream? Working as dishwasher for 25 years. And then another one's, no, yeah, I've been working on the line cook for many years, and I started as dishwasher. So yeah, I'm living my American dream. And it was like I feel like that time we didn't have any figures to look at,
Mm-hmm.
you
Role
know.
models. Yeah.
Exactly. And then I was like, I don't think I want to be a dishwasher for 20 years. Matter of fact, I don't think I want to be dishwasher not even for a year. And then I started working as dishwasher, and I asked the chef, "Hey, can you allow me to come early? I work for free. I just want to learn the kitchen. I want to learn everything that everybody does, and then when it's time for me to punch in, punch out, I'll do that." So he allowed me to do that, and then I started learning. And when it was an opportunity for me to move from the dish area to a pantry, I raised my hand. I said, "I think I can take the job. I think I know everything." And the chef is like, "Are you sure?" I'm like, "Yeah." So he gave me the opportunity for one day, and he's like, "Whoa, you're not going back for sure. I will
That's
keep you."
great.
And
That's
then, yeah, he was really great chef. I still remember, every time that every weekend he used to give to the crew a 6 packs of beer to everyone,
mhm.
except me. He used to give me a book because I was different.
That's
Yeah,
fantastic. That's
yeah,
fantastic. So he was a mentor. He was somebody who really, at that point when you were a young man, kind of trying to figure things out, here was a person who really gave you a little bit of a push, right?
yeah. I mean, it's always you need someone next to you, and you have to listen to it, and you have to put attention, to those people. They sometimes you don't know how capable you are to do things, but people, they've been in the business, they solve all the things and me,
Right.
and they tell me, you gotta give, you gotta
Yeah.
give, and then you have to work on it, but you have a give, and you're different, and then I started believing it. I was
That's
believing it,
great. That is, and that's so lucky because, it's rare to come across people who have an eye for talent too. So it's
hmm
kind of a good, mix of you having the talent and coming across somebody who could recognize that talent. Um,
yeah,
so then from there you moved on. One of the things that I love about your bio is that it talks about that you trained with the French method, and that
yeah,
kind of perked up my ears because the idea, I'm Cuban, and so I'm very used to Cuban food, and so the idea of mixing French and Mexican or French and Caribbean, how did it tell me about that? Because I'm confused.
okay. Well, the restaurants that I work, they used to do and serve French cuisine.
Uh-huh.
So I became familiar with French cuisine, at a point that I went one time I was at the Union Club of Chicago. I was the banquet chef, and then one time uh, I was in charge to do a dinner for the French embassy,
Uh-huh.
and then it was 600 people, and they brought politicians, figures from France, uh, great people, I mean top notch, and I was in charge for that dinner. And actually, they came with the French chefs, and one of them he approached me and he's like, "Hey, where is Chef Michael?" I was like, "Chef Michael is home." Like, what do you mean he's home? And I'm like, "Yeah, normally he takes the evenings off." And he's like, "Who's gonna be in charge serving this dinner?" I'm like, "No, that's my job. I'm the banquet chef. I do that." And he's like, "No, no, 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 no. This is cannot happen. We need to call him. He needs to be here." And like, don't be afraid. I do this every day. And he make a phone calls to bring other chefs to help me out. And probably it's the only time that I remember being a little upset and telling him like, look, you're in my kitchen, and you stick away. If you see that I'm not doing it the right way, then you jump in.
Right.
And he's like, okay, sounds good. And then start to finish, he didn't jump in. He had the need to help me out. And then instead he came and he's like, I never seen anything like that before in my life. And the next week, he calls me and he's like, you know what? I want to offer a job. I want you to be part of one of the French restaurants in the city. If hopefully you can take it. And I was like, I do it with one condition. You teach me French cuisine from the roots, I do that. And he's like, I'll be teaching you personally. I'm like, done deal. So I grew up, you know, when I used to cook in Mexico, it was just this little small part of Mexico, my hometown.
Right.
When I came to Chicago, I learned so much of French cuisine. It was too much for me. Learn everything, techniques, ingredients, and my Mexican cuisine never been the same anymore because my techniques that I have is totally French. I use some French ingredients to increase flavors, to do better good job, you know, with the French cuisine. I mean Mexican cuisine, and it became part of my life. You know, I cannot do just a simple Mexican recipe. I always have to. I always want to incorporate something that I know is gonna be really good for it. You know, yeah,
That makes
and that's
sense
got,
to me. Yeah, you
yeah,
take different elements from your, I mean, from your life, basically, and you know,
absolutely.
and I think I can see that's something that makes sense with cooking, because every technique that you learn, you know, from whatever, you know, whether it's chopsticks in a wok to, you know, knife work and all of that, you know, you can apply it to different things. But that
Absolutely.
mixture is so different because, you know, there's kind of a snob, you know, sort of mentality with French cooking. You know, people
Hmm.
think of it as very, you know, highfalutin. And I think I think
Yeah.
it's great that you're able to mix those two traditions so, you know, obviously effectively.
Yeah.
So then what happened? So you had this very successful restaurant, and then you left Chicago. You went back to Mexico. What
Yeah.
prompted that?
Well, decided to close Mexico, and I think I achieved having a Michelin star, being the first Mexican, you know, to achieve the Michelin star. It was good, but it was not enough for me to continue to look for more things to do. And then out of the blue, one of my dreams was like, I need to go back to Mexico. I need to share with my people what I like to do. And then it became an opportunity for me to open a restaurant down in Playa del Carmen. I got the offer and like, yeah, I'll take it. And then I opened inside of the restaurant, the Hotel Xcaret, Mexico.
Uh-huh.
And the first year we won 5 diamonds. We became first restaurant who won 5 diamonds. And then, you know, I start travel over Mexico uh, to know more about my culture, more about my food, more about everything, you know, that I can get. So I was really traveling all over Mexico. And just one day I was talking to my daughter, and I told her, I said, you know what, honey, I think I'm going to stay down here in Mexico. I'm going to open probably another restaurant in Mexico City. And this is what I'm going to do. And she's like, oh, that's awesome, Pa. You know, it's amazing, you know, that you open a restaurant and you're successful. And people in Mexico, they love you. I'm sure, you know, you're going to do really well. But let me tell you one thing, Pa. And like, oh, Lord. And
Don't you hate it when
she's
the kids
like,
tell you?
oh yeah. And she's like, you're a man of challenge. I'm like, what do you mean? They're like, you don't like nothing easy. You stay in Mexico, everything will be very easy. You come back to Chicago, you have to work really hard to get on top of the game again. And that's what you like. I said, you know what, baby? I'll see you next week. I'll start looking for places in Chicago. Yeah.
Mouth of babes, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
How old is she?
She's 22.
Oh,
Yeah.
she's a young lady. Is she here in the States or is she back in Mexico?
No, she's here. She's here in the States. Yeah. She's going to medical school.
Oh, fantastic.
Yeah, she's very smart.
Oh, well, she obviously is very smart. She gives you good advice.
So, yeah,
So
absolutely.
now you're back in Chicago. You're opening, or you've opened the 3 restaurants
Suco. Hmm.
that you have planned now. And so then this COVID thing happens. What now? I mean, what changes has this caused for you? What do you think the future holds?
Robert Mondavi vowed to make a great wine for every American table. And that's exactly what he did. His spirit lives on in every bottle of Woodbridge by Robert Mondavi, from one for all.